Yo, Direct here. Today we're going to be going over the Told You project file, which is from the Guilty Pleasures EP that CloudNone and I produced and we released on Monstercat late last year. Couple caveats before I get started. My computer crashed since we made the track, so when I was reinstalling everything, I couldn't get Camel Crusher, so that's missing in the project file, so it might sound slightly different. And then while I was going over the project file and refamiliarizing myself with the track, I noticed that there was a Omnisphere patch that's completely missing. And I don't have Omnisphere. So it's in the project file, but I'm pretty sure it didn't even make it to the final bounce. So I guess it doesn't really matter, but I'm bringing it up because I feel slightly guilty about it. So yeah. Anyway, let's jump into the project file and see what's going on. All right, so I think I'm just gonna play through like the first 32 bars or so, and I'll zoom in on a couple things that are interesting, but just to refamiliarize you with the track. And if you want to listen to the whole thing, you can listen to it on Spotify. But yeah, let's start up. All right, so that's the gist of the track, at least the first part. So yeah, let's just start at the top. So we got the drum bus here. If I open up the effects chain, I think that it's just RC20. Yeah, there was a Valhalla Vintage Verb, but this was set to 100% wet, and I'm not 100% sure where that was set in the original project file, so I just turned it off. It looked like we may have, tried to automate it, but I don't know. I think when I installed everything, it kind of got messed up, so I just disabled it. But we got our RC20, which is used for transitions, and if you haven't used RC20, it's got this fantastic magnitude slider, which basically just controls how much of every effect in RC20 you want. And the best thing about it, in my opinion, is the filters. You can kind of set the 100% wet filters, and then it will literally modulate them. And at 0% magnitude, it's not doing any filtering. Whereas an EQ at 0% still does some stuff to the high end and low end, especially phase shifty type things. And if you have it at 10 hertz, you might be resonating a little bit there. So I like it because it completely turns off. So we use that for transitions here. And if I play the drums in the intro, you can hear it. Super filtered. Starting to open up. Fully open. Yeah, so that's pretty simple. That's just on the drum bus, and that's all the drums on there. So great for transitions. So let's start with the kick here. So we got this kick, little EQ. Yeah, that kind of just brightens it up, makes it nice and clean. We got tube amp, which while I was looking through the project file, I remembered that this was one of the first plugins I ever downloaded. It's completely free. And it's been there since I started producing in FL Studio 8 on my parents' Windows XP computer. I've just been using it forever. So I think I started producing at 13. This plugin I've had for half of my life. So I highly recommend it. It's a great distortion. Super enthusiastic about it. Anyway, it's free. Grab it. And then I got Isotope Alloy 2, which is one of my favorite transient shapers. They don't make this anymore, but I think Isotope Neutron, has the exact same transient shaper algorithm. So if you want this one, I think you can just grab that one. and then that's running into a Pro L2. Let's actually remove these two effects. Yeah, a lot less punchy. That kind of just fills it out a little bit more, and that just punches it. That's nice. And then the Pro L2 is just slamming it, so it's just a brick at this point. In some genres, you can get away with like clipping the kick, but I don't think it worked here. I probably ended up trying that, but it just didn't sit well. And then we got our snare, which is pretty heavily processed. If I pull these off, you'll see what I mean. Yeah, that's pretty harsh. That would work in some sounds, but EQing it sounds better. Alloy punches it up, kind of makes it a little bit more dynamic. And then, yeah, Valhalla Room, wow, that adds a lot of volume, but that's like small at 100%. And then we got a utility to pull the volume back down. And we had a Camel Crusher, but it's gone. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, so that's nice, soft, smooth snare now. Oh, my CPU is going crazy. Then in the second half of the first drop, we have a second snare. A little bit of the glue. This is clipping. I don't know why I added the glue and not just glue compressor, which comes with Ableton. They're the exact same plugin. But I think this was right when I was like starting to figure out Ableton. I was messing with it over the summer a lot. Summer of 2020. And I, for some reason, thought that the clipping algorithm in here sounded different, but I ended up Googling it, and it's exactly the same. So I should have just used glue compressor. But if you look at the programming on these, the lighter snare is doing like the kind of like UK garagey or like burial like really, like early snare on the 3, so it's a 16 note early, and then the other snare is doing like a straight 2 in the 4, or I'm sorry, I think I said the 3. This is the 4, but it's slightly early on the 4, and then this one is doing a straight like 2 and a 4, which keeps the energy up, I think, in the second half. That sounds kind of like rough on its own, but in the mix, it sounds great. And then we got this other group, which just has a couple breaks in it. I think this one kind of fills the drums out quite a bit. Yeah, this sounds like full. This is like a full thing. Let me take off this EQ. Yeah, that just adds a lot to the drums there. And then we have CloudNone's sort of like filter. It's the same, doing the same thing as RC20, basically, but it's just an effect rack he was using. We probably use that for transitions. Yeah, looks like it's automated in here. And then another, I think, more lo-fi. It's got the tick in there, which sounds great together. So that's kind of filling out the drums. Then we got the hi-hat bus, which has quite a bit going on. Yeah, so we got a shaker loop. Sounds good. We got these hi-hats, which looks like CloudNone just added in a bunch of hi-hats from like Splice or something. Then I probably added air reverb to this. That seems like something I would do, just to kind of smooth these out. Yeah, without it's like really clicky, and with it on, it's almost like they're shakers too. And then Shack Audio Transient Shaper, great transient shaper. RC20 bit crushing, which kind of just makes it a little bit more like white noisy. It's a good way to get rid of some of the tonal elements in a hi-hat too, is just to bit crush it a little bit. And then high pass. Yeah, so it's got a couple of variations. And then this loop has the little triplet hi-hat part. Yeah, and that's super compressed because we don't really want the snare in there. That kind of just needs to act as another hi-hat. Um, yeah, and then we got oh yeah, this I love this sound. So there's a pack of kicks, or this is from a pack. I don't know if it's just kicks, but these kicks from this one pack off Splice always have so much high end, and I really like the sound of like this white noise in the high end. So I just high pass it out and kind of use it as a like anchor point in the beat. I tend to do that in a lot of tracks these days, so did that there. Then we got a simple up hat. Nothing too crazy there. And then burial hat out of my sample pack, which if you stick around till the end of the video, I've got a coupon code for my sample packs to cut the price in half. So just stick around. Those are only going to be good for about a week, though. So if you're watching this later, sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. But yeah, so that's the hi-hat. So let's listen to the whole drum bus again as a group, see what it sounds like. Yeah, it sounds great. Nice and full. Obviously, I'm biased. I think it sounds great. I wouldn't have released it if I didn't think it sounded great. But yeah, so let's move on to the bass. I think the only thing on the group is the sidechain, yeah. And then nothing too crazy on the bass, just square and a saw, low pass. Little bit of tube distortion from Voxengo. Not too much though. And then we got this audio effect rack. Yeah, this is just a delay throw rack that I would have probably put together. Yeah, so that's just the delay is like muted because there's nothing being sent into it with the utility. And then I automate up the utility to kind of like throw it. You could just use a send. I just like to keep it all on the same track. So that's pretty simple. That's the bass. There's nothing else there. And then we got the melody bus. But I think the first thing I'm going to go over in the melody bus is not melodic. But there's only one sweep sound in the whole track, and it's this silent white noise sweep. Yeah, super simple. I definitely stole this technique from Mr. Fiji, so shout out Fiji. Ever since I first collaborated with him, I'm pretty sure he's been using this technique. It's just use a bandpass filter in Silent with white noise. But something about the bandpass filter in Silent sounds really good as a sweep. So I'm using it now. But that goes into an audio effect rack with the 60 seconds preset, which if you don't have Valhalla and you're in Ableton, I would highly recommend the 60 seconds reverb preset. It can get you like 80% there. And I think it sounds great. So definitely bump that quality up to high or medium. I don't think it's on, I think it's on low or eco or whatever when you first load the preset in. But yeah, so, you know, the reverb just carries it over into wherever you're transitioning into. So yeah, and this is a preset I've been using, you know, even in Logic, I use this type of preset. So yeah, that's there. And then we got a crash cymbal. There's no sense in playing that. It's just a 909 crash. And then a vocal chops. So yeah, so we got, I'll just play these really quick. Sweet. So yeah, on I think the effects are pretty much the same on all three of these tracks, but maybe a couple of differences. But we got replica, little dotted eighth note delay. You can hear it there. Into Valhalla Supermassive. This probably just came out around when we were making this, so I wanted to try it. But it's actually at 0% mix, so I'm not sure what we did with that. It's automated up at the end, probably for like ambience. That's cool. Valhalla Vintage Verb. We got the transition filter that CloudNone uses, and then some high-end boost. The other chop just has Valhalla Shimmer, and then the main I should have told you. And I probably shouldn't have sung that because I can't sing. That's got Shimmer and EQ8 and Valhalla Vintage Verb. And a replica. It's just the same effects in different order. We probably just jumped back and forth on that, and we never moved them all into the correct order, but it still sounds fine. So that's the vocals. This is the unfortunate sound that CloudNone added that I don't have Omnisphere, so it's just forever gone. So we're just gonna gloss over that one. Then we got pumpy chords. Oh yeah, Serum. There was a bug in Serum and it got fixed, and it in turn messed up the macro 1 modulation. But this is what this patch is supposed to sound like. So that kind of just mirrors the groove of the drums a little bit with this automation. It's very CloudNone to do that, and I love it. And then we got the soft pad, simple saw pad there, layered in with these super saws. And the super saw pad is just super saws, 8 unison on both oscillators, full width, and then a low pass. And then we got a little bit of decapitator to add some texture, and vintage verb, and then another filter for transitions. And then we got another pad called cool pad. Actually, I think that's muted. Is that muted? Yeah, no sense going over that. I probably added that, and then I definitely added that. It was Tyrell. I love this synth, but we never ended up using that, so we can ignore that one. And then we got the massive, very direct pluck. If you go back to my music from 2013, that's a very me sound. Although I probably wouldn't have added noise back then. Yeah, pretty simple, massive patch. We got sine, a little bit of pitch modulation on one of the envelopes. This one. And then that's being run into saturator. Echo, vol, shimmer, vintage verb, EQ8, and soothe. The soothe is probably just used in this case to kind of set it back in the mix. Soothe is good at removing resonances, but resonances pop out of the mix. So if you want to send something to the back of the mix, you just throw soothe on it. It's a really great little technique. It's a little bit more present if it's off, yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty good. And then this patch, I think this was in the original project file. Wish I could go back and check. One of the early things I tend to do in projects is get something and then turn it into a pad. So while this was definitely a pad before, I probably reverbed the crap out of it, yeah. And then applied some effects to it. But yeah, so that I remember that being in the original project file before we probably even had chords in. So yeah, there's that, and then there's this lead, which is awesome, and I'll probably go over that in a second. Yeah, let's go over that over here. So halfway through the breakdown, we change up the melody a little bit. If I play it into that. So you can hear how that melody changed up. And if I play it in the drop without any of the filtering, super aggressive. But this is my favorite sound in the whole project file. I think that one of the things that I was happy we got to experiment with, and something I don't really get to do very much, is kind of glitch stuff up. And I think this track really suited that, or this vibe really suited that type of effect, because we're kind of going for that fun breakbeaty type. I don't know. I was having early 2000s breakbeat music nostalgia, so I was we gotta glitch everything up. But let's just take off the effects and we can listen to this dry and see how it sounds. I'm gonna leave these two though, because I think those are just used for transitions and stuff. So we got this. So that's just white noise, saw square, low pass, pretty basic. I think that goes into, tube distortion. Then we got EQ8. Tube amp adds a little bit of aggression, and then decapitator does a lot of the hard work here. So aggressive now. And then we got Valhalla Vintage Verb and an echo. Another delay here with Replica. And then here's where the fun starts. So I'm going to turn on the effects again. Auto pan RC20. I don't know what the RC20 is doing. Yeah, that's just another transition filter. Beat repeat. So if you're not familiar with beat repeat, don't use Ableton or haven't messed with it. It's basically like a buffer modifier. That's the best term I can think of. It basically just lets you glitch up and repeat certain sections of audio, and you can in real time change the grid size and automate the repeat knob or button, I guess. So that's what we're doing here. We have the repeat button automation and the grid size automation. So let me play this and you can watch this. And you see, it's like, it kind of sounds rough, like outside the mix, but in the mix, I think it sounds great. So we're literally just automating the grid size and then turning on and off the repeats, and it just adds so much energy. And it was very intentional, at least from my perspective, to put this after the echo and the reverb, because I wanted it to sound like it wasn't done in MIDI, and it was literally like we had this thing and we were like playing with the sound. But beat repeat makes it really easy, so a lot of fun. And then I think that we layered in a saw. And we just copied the beat repeat automation and everything. So that adds so much energy. And then the next thing, which I really love, is these strings, which I think are... I'm having trouble unsoloing things. We got these strings, which are Spitfire Albion and Albion 1. And then there was an H delay and a Valhalla Shimmer, because this is actually a patch I used in my Pierce Fulton remix. But we ended up taking off the H delay and the Valhalla Shimmer, so it's not that patch anymore. I love how this sounds. This is a great patch. But yeah, so we're just automating the modulation, which is just like the dynamics in the patch. And if you can't afford Albion 1, the Spitfire original strings sound pretty good too, and they have that same feature, which just adds so much to the dynamics of it. So, and I'm really happy with how this sounds. We did not sidechain this sound, so that way it kind of was like a weird anchor point. So if you listen to this, it pops out of the mix, and it sounds so nice because it's popping out there, and it's like, it's so good. Anyway, as you can see, I'm very enthusiastic about that sound. But yeah, so that's pretty much that, like what's on that part. Let's look at the master channel. So yeah, pretty simple. We got Pro L2. This probably hit pretty hard. Yeah, that's a lot of limiting. And there was more at one point, and we pulled it back. That's why the utility's there. And if you're wondering why there's EQ8s with like shelves, this is how I check low end. So I'll turn these on. This is like ends up being about 60 decibels of shelving off. But that's a great way to like check your sub without car testing. So I end up doing that a lot. But yeah, so that's pretty much the whole track. Yeah, I think that's it. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll show the coupon codes for my sample packs up on screen right now. So definitely go check the link in the description and then throw that code in if you want to grab my sample pack. But yeah, and if you want more of these types of videos, leave a thumbs up and subscribe. And let me know what song in the comments you want to see me break down, and anything from my past discography I can go through. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll see you soon. Peace.